Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Art at Embassies, the art that bonds. To give the opening remarks, please welcome His Excellency Abdullah Saif Al Nuaimi, UAE Ambassador to the Republic of Korea.
Your Excellency Shafiq Rashadi, Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, Ambassador of Morocco, distinguished guest, colleague ambassador, good evening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is a great pleasure and honor to welcome all of you this evening. I would also like to take this opportunity to express my deepest appreciation to Her Excellency Huda Al Khamis, founder of the Abu Dhabi Music and Arts Foundation, for her unwavering support and her remarkable contribution to the advancement of arts and culture. My sincere gratitude also to Abu Dhabi Music and Arts Foundation for its continued partnership. It is an honor to be joined by my esteemed colleague, fellows ambassadors, and by my two distinguished guests, Moza Al Matrooshi, a Sharjah-based multimedia conceptual artist, and Maya Al Khalil. I'm not sure if they're here. Yeah, they're here. Okay. A UK-based curator and art advisor with more than 2 decades of experience shaping contemporary art across the Gulf and the Arab world. I would also like to congratulate Deepen for her nomination for Abu Dhabi Festival Award. She is one of the South Korea's most influential contemporary artists whose groundbreaking interdisciplinary practice continue to inspire audience around the globe. As part of the cultural initiative of the UAE Embassy at the Republic of Korea and in collaboration with Abu Dhabi Music and Arts Foundation, we are proud to host the Art at Embassies for the second time in Seoul. This initiative not only foster culture and educational exchange by showcasing the work of pioneer Emirati artists, it is also highlight a key milestone in the UAE artistic and cultural journey. This event also marks an important first step in implementing a memorandum of understanding signed between the Seoul Metropolitan Government and ADMAF in Abu Dhabi in May 2024. Our prominent curator this evening, Ms. Maya Al Khalil, bring over 2 decades of experience shaping contemporary art across the Gulf with notable projects including Saudi Pavilion at the Venice Biennale 2024, Desert X Al Ula, and key exhibition for Louvre, Abu Dhabi, and ADMAF. She is joined by a Sharjah-based multimedia artist, Ms. Moza Al Matrooshi, whose conceptual practice wave storytelling and the social dynamic through a performance moving image, sound, and text. As a feature of ADMAF exhibition, Portrait of Nation 2. Together, they offer insightful perspective on artistic innovation in our region. Once again, I extend a warm and heartfelt welcome to each of you. I hope you enjoy this enriching and inspiring experience. Thank you. Kamsahamnida.
Thank you, Your Excellency. This is the 7th edition of Art at Embassies around the world, and today is a particularly special one. To reveal all, please welcome Her Excellency Huda Al Khamis Kanu, founder of Abu Dhabi Music and Arts Foundation and the Abu Dhabi Festival.
Wow. My dear friends, today we are in the presence of greatness. Lee Bull. Lee Bull, as one of the world's greatest contemporary artists ever. '20th to 21st century. Lee, your work stands as a sentinel, opening our eyes to the world unknown, to question everything, to have the curiosity to ask, to imagine. You push the possibilities of creativity. Actually, you push us to creativity. You push the possibilities of creativity by exploring how technology shapes mind and bodies. In recognition of this profound practice, and under the patronage of His Highness Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan, we present to you the Abu Dhabi Festival Award in association with Chopard. Thank you, Lee, for the person and for the exceptional person you are. To bestow this honor, may I now invite to the stage His Excellency Abdullah Saif Al Nuaimi, UAE Ambassador to the Republic of Korea. And Mr. Yong Soo Ha, our partner, as well, Vice Chair of GS Holdings, please. And now, without further ado, let's welcome Lee Bull. That's yours. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to give it back.
Wonderful. So let us begin the art that bonds. My name is Lisa Borlechka. I'm from the Abu Dhabi Music and Arts Foundation. And today we are going to explore how artistic practice and curatorial frameworks transcend geographic, linguistic, and sociocultural boundaries, revealing points of convergence, dialogue, and above all, empathy. All the right ingredients for cultural diplomacy with impact. Hopefully the conversation will ignite your curiosity, so get ready. After our panelists speak, we want to hear from you. Your questions, your comments, please. So let us welcome our panel, who will share some of their experiences. Maya Khalil, co-curator of Proximities, and Moza Al Matrooshi, artist. Please welcome them. Okay, so in particular, we're going to focus today, and there's going to be some slides on the screen here that will illustrate. Many of you have already attended the Proximities exhibition, and some of these images will be familiar to you. Some of them will not be familiar to you because they are all about Moza Al Matrooshi's fascinating practice. We started earlier this year in Abu Dhabi with a phenomenal exhibition featuring the work of the great Lee Bull. Layered medium, we are in open circuits. That happened in Abu Dhabi and it attracted over 16,000 visitors. UAE is hungry for Korean creativity. And now we have progressed here in Seoul to the wonderful exhibition Proximities that opened to the public yesterday. Maya El Khalil is a curator and art advisor, and for over 20 years, not showing your age, Maya, she has helped shape contemporary art scenes across the Gulf and Arab world. Moza Al Matrooshi is a multimedia conceptual artist whose practice centers around storytelling. She creates fictions and metaphors based on regional food production and politics. And I found out yesterday she's a qualified beekeeper. So let's start with you, Maya. Let's talk about the curatorial origin story. How did the idea of Proximities emerge? What was your starting point to explore the vast relationship of UAE and Korean culture?
First of all, thank you so much for having us here for this panel. And I want to extend my really heartfelt congratulations to Libol on being best of this award. So first of all, when we thought about Proximities, it was a long process of collaboration and exchange, and that started maybe almost now two and a half years ago, maybe. And it started with Her Excellency Mr. Sodakanu reaching out and visiting Seoul and connecting with Seoul Museum of Art and signing Memorandum of Understanding between the two institutions. What followed was a whole process of encountering each other rather than just putting together exhibitions. So panel discussions, visits, commissioned, both commissions from both institutions, residency programs as well. And then the first outcome of this process was the exhibition Layered Medium War in Open Circuits that took place in May, this last May in Abu Dhabi at Manarat Saadiyat, and now Proximities. So when we thought about Proximities, one central question was, what does it mean? What does it mean to be close? What does it mean to be near? And obviously, this is a question that goes beyond just geography. We're talking about nearness also in time, nearness in relations and customs, and ideas, sharing ideas, and also not only about sharing, but also what does it mean to understand differences and to maybe find these places of transformations when we encounter each other. So, and the best way to look at that was actually not to present the single story, not to present the single perspective, but reaching out to artists from the UAE art scene that have their own long-term practice. For myself and my co-curator Unju Kim from the Seoul Museum of Art, to ask them from the subject or the topics or the thematics that they've been addressing throughout their practice to formulate perspectives and invite themselves, their peers, to either encounter their perspectives or to actually be in tension with it. And from these emerge these three clusters, I would say, around which we, myself and Unju, we build further works that, again, enter in conversation or in tension, and created these ripple effects. So it's like almost you have these three nodes and you have concentrating circles that either overlap or actually remain in distance. So in short, it's about presenting multiple perspectives.
And talking about multiple perspectives and multiple voices, Moza, you are one of the many artists from the UAE whose work is featured in this exhibition, and you played a very important role at the VIP opening a few days ago, where you held a durational performance. And food plays a very important role in your practice. Tell us a little bit about how you created this durational piece that we saw a few days ago, and why here, why now?
Firstly, I'd also like to thank you all for being here today and for your time. Something that did not get mentioned in the introduction of who I am, I'm also a chef. Actually, I became a chef after graduating from my master's in fine arts in the Slade School of Arts in UCL in London, where I was looking heavily at food symbolism and food as a stand-in for language, and how food can transcend our own attempts to communicate. So immediately after graduating, I enrolled in culinary school and became a pastry chef in Dubai. I worked as a chef for the last 5 years. And it features greatly in my work, whether metaphorical or whether activating my work through menus. And so when Maya got in touch and we started to talk about this performance, which was actually conceived during the time that I was in London, it was at a time where I was hitting peak frustration of having to explain who I am. And so with a group of other Arab artists at the time that were also art students, we decided to create an exhibition together and host our art colleagues, but also people from our neighborhoods and people from different communities to attend. And I did this performance for an entire night in front of an audience that was both familiar and unfamiliar with, you know, what we now frame as an art performance. And so I had also refused to record it. And it only lives in the objects that survived the performance. So the ceramics that were used as well during the time of the performance the other day, just 2 days ago. And I think the visual or the scenography of the pomegranates and the actions, the liveness, I'm sometimes asking the audience to trust themselves to record that memory and not really rely on a record that is instructional. And so I think with these asks and with the tension of that was created between the guest and the host sitting across each other, serving each other, asking each other what they can eat, or if I have served them enough. You know, along with that, I think the art also belonged to the person sitting across me and the audience as much as it had belonged to my own authorship. Which is to say a lot within a conversation of art existing within a context abroad, outside of my own context.
And outside of your control as well. You allow the autonomy of the audience to play a role in that. Maya, please.
I just wanted to add, because when Moza was saying that she was starting to answer the question who she is, or to explain who she is, her performance was taking place in one of the sections, was in relation to one of the sections in this exhibition, and which is a place for the first section, which is titled "A Place for Turning," that is curated around the thinking of Farah Al-Qasimi, a very reputable Emirati photographer. But why is that? A place for turning, because the word comes from in Arabic, qalb. Qalb is the hearts. And in that etymology of the name, there's also the word of taqallub, qalb. It's a place where turning, where the blood actually circulates and where life circulates. And we're presenting the first section with the intimate. So it's a section that starts within the intimate realms of these artists from the UAE.
And why did you choose A Place for Turning as the first section? Why not the second or third?
All right. It was a long discussion between myself and Unju, actually. Why do we start with this section? And I'm going to be very honest, because as I mentioned, we had an exhibition of experimental Korean art or new media art that opened in May in the UAE. And we're opening proximities here. There are two different approaches to these exhibitions. the audience in the UAE is used to the idea, or it's already used to hearing about Korea, K-pop, the movies, the food, fashion, cosmetics. I mean, it's like it has such a positive, positive reactions or positive expectations from the public in the UAE about going and seeing an exhibition about Korean art. I don't think it's equivalent when you are showing an art here that is from the United Arab Emirates, which the first connotation is first the word Arab. The second connotation is Islam. The third connotation is women not having rights, a conservative society, a very close society. I'm not saying that this is the predominant and everybody has this, but it is not only in Korea, but in a number of other places around the world. So the premise of approaching an exhibition, this type of exhibition, are different. So we thought that an idea would be to actually start from that place of tension, which is the intimate places, the places where women are at home. And this is the first section. It's the place where actually different artists are expressing what does it mean to be inside, what's the intimate place, and what is happening between that intimate place and the outside. And the porousness today of these membranes that are not borders, actually, that are where influx and outflux is taking place, whether digitally through screens or whether through also, exposures, the way that we live today.
Thank you. I want to go back to this idea of audience with you, Moza, because it's not just about, it's about process and outcome. When you bring the audience into the creating of your work, allowing that spontaneity to take place. As we know, you've travelled all over the world. You've studied abroad. You have your studio in Sharjah. You're very much an international artist, but rooted, connected to the very heart of the UAE, of course. What role does audience play in your practice? And we could be here for some time, I think.
I'll try to condense it then. Actually, I don't know if we'll be sharing any pictures.
We've got the images here.
Oh, there they are.
On loop.
Okay, well, I want to say that my practice is a constant destruction of my own authorship to include the authorship of others. I'm based in Sharjah. I'm actually from Ajman. I travel further north and east and actually work with a lot of people in the mountains, beekeepers, farmers, and I try to retell those stories within my work, but I noticed that sometimes when I invite the farmers and the beekeepers to come into cultural and art spaces, they're actually severely uninterested. So because they feel like they have a relationship with their own aesthetics that are fulfilling for them where they are, so then I decided to do the inverse, which is I bring the audience to the landscape. Through my studio, I actually have a series called Eat the Landscape, albeit it is a commercial series, but it's been effective nonetheless, where I take people to the mountainous region of the UAE. We pinpoint areas, histories, historical sites, people, practices, and along with adventure guides or locals from those areas, I create menus for people to experience over there. And so, and then I do, again, the inverse. So I'm kind of, I have a foot in each world. And I am constantly negotiating, but not with myself. I'm constantly in conversation with more than just the art institutions or my peers in the art world, but also the people who occupy the spaces through which I am trying very hard not to be extractive of their voice, but rather inclusive. And so, yeah, this is, the audience is very important, but I'm also, I think, sometimes a part of the audience myself. So it's really this seesawing, I think, which has become really playful.
Playful is a really good word to describe it. in the curation of proximities, of course, breaking down barriers is one of the key sort of motivations to engaging with audiences. Tell us about how that played out in curating proximities, breaking down those barriers. You spoke earlier about sort of some negative stereotypes that seem to perpetrate continually, but exhibitions like Proximities help to break down those barriers.
I think rather than attempting to break down barriers, it's more about avoiding simplification. So it's actually, we're not presenting answers, so the exhibition does not give answers. The exhibition actually are sites of questioning, are sites of maybe being uncomfortable, or being also where there is complexity, where there is ambiguity. So when you create, these are spaces that you encounter rather than you find solutions. And when you encounter, there is a thinking moment. So in these exhibitions, I think we take the time to be together, whether taking the time to be with the work, taking the time to be with the ideas that are being presented, also reflecting and drawing resonance rather than similarities. So again, our primary attempt here is very much to present multiple subjectivities. And what do I mean by subjectivities? Is that when artists are presenting, or the works are presenting their individual narrative, does not intend or does not have the ambition to be a global one, but it's because of its subjectivity and because of its context can be understood, or a different audience can resonate with it.
I think I like what you say about cultural diplomacy, cultural exchange is not a magic wand. It's not a sweet, a candy that is palatable always. It has to challenge. It has to incite reaction to a certain extent. Is that right?
Yes. I mean, when we talk about culture, I mean, visual arts or culture being a form of cultural diplomacy, it's because it resists simplification, actually. It's because it's a place, like, for instance, policies and branding, or some. These are in art. You're allowed. There's the complexity, the uncertainty is inherent, is allowed. Unlike in policies, for instance. So when this happens, difference. It can allow difference. We inhabit it rather than resolve it, and that's being in today, especially today, when we talk about words that are extremely divided. Keeping the conversation or possibilities open, refusing closure, is deeply political by itself.
Definitely. Moza, would you like to add anything to that in terms of your experience presenting work within a context that is not based in the UAE, or not within, not performing to a UAE audience? When you go abroad, what's that experience like for you?
So when I came back to the UAE after graduating, I firmly rooted myself and said, "This is where I need to stay." But then I actually was having a conversation with one of the artists in the show casually, and was talking about how participating in art residencies around the world has been an interesting lens in which to view the world, because when I participate in art residencies, I'm immersing myself in another geography, but with like-minded people who are sensitive and critical to the things that I am also aligned with. And so we approach different contexts together, usually, not through tourism. and not through just, kind of like traveling lightly, but actually with inquisitions and with engagement. And then a translation happens once I go back home of like, wow, I looked at how things run in this country, or how a community, behaves in this way or reacts to certain things. How does that, if ever, it applies to us, the collective us, at this very moment in the UAE, which is quite broad within itself. And so I don't think I have an off button, but or a solution, as you say. And I don't think I'm interested in actually having that finality. But I remain open so long as I promise myself to contract back in my humble kitchen studio, and make work there. I think actually, truthfully, if you ask any artist without an audience, they would much rather be left alone in their studio to make work than to be pried out to go anywhere. But because we are here, I have to choose the political answer, diplomatic answer.
To add, I think you said it. I don't really have something to add now to Moza's
Diplomatic answer.
I mean, as I said, it's art allows to have ambiguity. I think this is primarily, and ambiguity is healthy. Ambiguity is difficult in a diplomatic world. Ambiguity is a terrain for possibilities in the art world,
and it's a reality. We need to embrace it in a positive way.
Yes, it's because it's, in a way, it's not only is it accepted, but it's something that within the art world we are ready to embrace it. We are ready as an audience. We are ready to receive it. In the diplomatic world, and I'm sorry, I'm not a diplomat, but it's more difficult. It's about resolving ambiguity. It's about resolving differences. It's also a lot about compromise, and maybe in the art world, compromising is not an objective. It maybe the idea comes through a process of understanding, encountering again, rather than translating. But it is not an objective. And as such, it allows the different perspective, the different receptions, the different resonances.
Now, you have been cooking up proximities for about, you said 2.5 years, right?
I mean, in terms of working together with the Seoul Museum of Art, yes.
So a decent amount of time, a generous amount of time. And you were talking about residencies as well. I want to go behind the gallery, behind the exhibition that we see now at Seoul Museum of Art, and look at the more gestational experiences both you as a curator, both you as an artist have. You talked about residencies, and this is an incredibly fertile area of cultural exchange, but on a very personal, very practice-based level. You've done residencies in other parts of the world. How has that helped you as an artist embrace other cultures, and how have you worked with artists from other cultures?
So I've done, I think maybe I'll talk about two residencies. One that I've done in Mexico, where as a group of people who participated willingly under a theme that was looking at land and time and laboring on the land. And we were in a very small town in the state of Veracruz, and that's very specific. That's unlike the experience of people that I know who have just visited Mexico, kind of to travel through it. And so we were engaging with farmlands that were actually, before they were farmed, were thriving jungles, and that have archaeological findings up until today that the farmers come across because they are not being dug up by archaeologists. And so we were navigating that. Obviously, that made me think about a lot of things, but what was so interesting is we were equipped with reading and discussion time, so it was a condensed time to study that phenomena, and then kind of like take that back home with me, and until today, like I carry that with me. And then I've done a residency. One of the residencies that I've done after graduating as well was in Cairo, in Townhouse, in the era of William Wells's departure. And I feel incredibly fortunate to have done that. But then that prepared me for an entryway back into the region to change my lexicon from what I had gathered in the West, and to approach things with a new set of vocabulary and ways of discussion and seeing things. My residency in Cairo was supposed to be 3 months, but I stayed for 4 because I had joined a group of writers and we started writing, and so it was quite fluid, I want to say. And so I promised myself to do this kind of thing at least once a year, and it's not under the umbrella of anything other than to really live a full experience in my life. But I suppose, you know, one cannot necessarily get away so much from their identity and their context, and so it becomes something you do need to engage with the world with as well. And so I'm not dismissing that aspect at all. Yeah.
Maya, can we talk a little bit about that gestation period? And also what's been incredible is you see the artists and their wonderful work in the exhibition, ladies and gentlemen, but there is an army of people behind the scenes who has put this exhibition together. And we have had to work together as teams from Seoul Museum of Art, teams from ADMAF. Can we talk a little bit about the backstage?
There's definitely an army of people that have been involved in this exhibition. There are 2 words that actually I could always bring to the fore. There's the concept of the genius, and there's the concept of what Brian Eno labeled as genius. The genius is that with globalization, everything, we lived in the world of the super architect, the superstar, the super artist. I mean, we do have one now, but we have a number of them. And to be frank, it's a legacy. I mean, these are years and years and years of effort. It doesn't come overnight. But, and they all recognize that, is that what Brian labeled as genius, coming from the word is scene. So for every genius, there's a whole scene behind that person that allowed him or her to get to that position. So let's celebrate the genius. And today with Proximities, it's very much that. It's definitely not Unju and myself. It's a whole team, and it's also visions. I mean, there is a vision behind all of our work, not only one, maybe multiple visions that came together to inspire us all to really work on an exhibition like this. It's a big exhibition, over 110 works, and not only this one, but the previous one as well. In terms, it's a big exhibition, maybe less works, but in terms of the research that went into it, to also to encounter each other, we know we need first to learn extensively about each other. So encountering does not start from a base of I would say not knowing. Is actually to start from a base of realizing how much we still need to develop. So there's a lot of effort of really researching each other and learning.
It's not just about live events either. It's not about events that come and go, because of course out of this exhibition and the previous one, Layered Medium, We Are in Open Circuits, 2 major publications are going to be published by ADMAF Seoul Museum of Art with Skira.
And we talk about these concentric circles, right? So even with these publications, it's not only about putting the exhibition in a book. It's about actually extending this conversation. It's reaching out in Abu Dhabi, for instance, in reaching out to the academic, to the thinkers, to the writers, to the artists, to write about the themes that were addressed by artists, by Korean artists, or in that exhibition. And here it's the same thing. It's like also with the help of Unju and the whole team at Seoul Museum of Art, it's reaching out to the community of academics, of writers, of thinkers who are going to write about some of these themes. So it's very much broadening these circles of encounters.
And in years to come, students of international relations studying in Korea or the UAE will have these books and will understand the authority, the seriousness, the depth and diversity that culture can bring to diplomatic relations.
Like we've done it, like we had access to the multiple books and research material that were shared with us. I must admit that there's a lot of effort that we need to do in the UAE to document all of this history and the development of the scene and the multiple points of view. There's still a lot to be done, but already, I mean, its publication is something already ADMAF is taking very seriously, but also, I mean, other institutions in the UAE as well.
I love this segue now, Maya. You've given it to me on a plate. Institutions. Let's, as we're coming to the end of our conversation before we open it up to you, let's talk about what role in a dream world, what role should institutions, public, cultural institutions, play in continuing to facilitate cultural exchange in the world today? What are they doing well? What are they not doing well?
Interesting to hear it from the artist.
In this moment of time, what I'm finding the most, the most effective is that we are actually living within a full circle moment, where a lot of the artists that have been there have been a lot of platforms for the past decade that have been really, I mean, decades obviously, but in the last decade specifically, there has been kind of a really condensed effort into creating a thriving ecosystem of artists. And now we see those artists come back, teach, work in the institutions, fill those roles. A lot of us in the UAE know the people who are behind the scenes, let's say, because they are practicing artists themselves. Some of them are starting their own gallery projects, their own studio projects, their own. So it's. I think what institutions can continue to do well is to recognize the importance of the sensitivities that are carried by artists themselves when they do occupy these roles. Actually, there is a whole section in the exhibition about this phenomena of artists working in these roles of they are in those systems and they are outside of them as the artist, and there's a circularity, and so it would serve us all well to recognize it as something that is happening and work through ways to facilitate it in a way that is much more seamless.
It depends also on the different types of institutions. You have the governmental institutions, you have the private institutions, you have also the educational institutions that are extremely important. They complement each other. The role is very important. For instance, the governmental institutions are extremely important because this is continuity. This is, you look at the past, you look at the future. There is, that's it's essential for a scene to have support from governmental institutions. There is a certain agility to private institutions that also within the framework of a government is not always, or it's difficult. It's more bureaucratic. It's more things maybe take more time. There's more processes involved. Foundations usually are more agile. But also it's about recognizing the needs of a community, of an artistic community. It's also having the maybe touching a pulse of communities that are moving things from the ground up as well. There is a scale also involved. Yeah.
If I may add to that, but what I mean is also just beyond the arts and culture institutions or the educational institutions, because as you say, like even in media, for example, if there was more presence, let's say, of people who have had an education or still retain a role within arts and culture, then we would see more critical writing on exhibition making or the role of artists without being afraid, of like, oh, critique equals bad, and so I think the presence of where we need our needs to be met with people who have that sensitivity can ease that, can really clarify that. Even in governmental, I mean, one of the artists in the show is actually a diplomat, so and I think that's really helpful and that's really positive. Yeah.
We were saying also that these artists, there is a perception that, for instance, these artists that are in governmental roles are translators of policies. But actually, what we're realizing is that these artists are very much part of the change that is taking place. They've been enabled, and they are actually impacting changes that's taking place within these cultural institutional cultural initiatives. So the role we call them, that's the third section, that thing, amphibian. And amphibian is that dual role that they're playing between their studio practice and between their art making, creative practice within the umbrella of these governmental institutions. And the question is that not what is art, but when is art? And this is a question that Ramin and Rokna and Hassam actually proposed.
The word is challenge. Challenge is good. Challenge is healthy. Challenge is curiosity alive. Ladies and gentlemen, let's open it up for some questions. Thank you very much. Let me come to you. Oh, we've got a microphone coming.
Thank you very much for the very important dialogue that we have here. And yet I cannot miss the opportunity to maybe reach out to our guest of honor today, Madame Liboul, to maybe share some ideas of experience, what she can give in terms of nasayih, in terms of advice to young Moza, who's at the beginning of her career, whereas Madame Liboul is at the continuing zenith and the continuing moving up of her career. So maybe a couple of words, if we can entice from you, Madame.
No pressure.
Good question. Yeah, but I think sadly I couldn't see the show yet. So first, I think first of all I have to go to City Museum as soon as possible. So I have to see work. That is a first. And then my English is not so good, so I probably I understand there's very few. Yeah, but it's very lovely I can understand. And maybe I have to say is just cheers. Cheers, yes. Because whatever we want, so we have a right about to try to that one, right? So yeah, hopefully we can get it, right?
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. Your Excellency.
Thank you. Thank you, Lee. Just a comment. We were talking about cultural diplomacy and the diplomacy and having art and the diplomacy, ambiguity, and what we can say and what we cannot say. I just want to say one thing. The ambassador of cultural diplomacy is the artist. Cultural diplomacy is the place where ambiguity, questioning, agreeing, disagreeing, curiosity takes place. And that's why we are here. So it goes beyond diplomacy. it creates the connection, an opportunity to have more connection, an opportunity to tell our stories, whether I like it, or this one like it, or this one doesn't like it. So this is why cultural diplomacy exists and why we connect. And thank you, Ambassador, for having it at your embassy. The other thing that I would like to comment is, it's funny how things change. Nanjum Park, father of video and video installation, in the 60s and 70s, late 60s or early 70s, correct me if I'm wrong, Nanjum Park was even going to go maybe to jail for his ideas. Maybe the government was not with him. Maybe the government. Nanjum Park today is embraced by his country, proud, the pride of his country, and exhibiting everywhere. Look what art can do. And look what artists can do. So artists are not there to think to please you or please me or think whether we are going to like it or they push the boundaries. With Lee Bull in Abu Dhabi, with the bust of women, maybe many years ago I wouldn't have exhibited. I wouldn't have the courage to exhibit it. But today, with the movement of arts and culture and pushing the boundaries and allowing with the free creative thinking Abu Dhabi for everyone to come, think, expose, exchange. So look what artist does. Change the, and many I was seeing when I go in the morning, hide behind, I see some of the young, they are, drawing from Lee Bull's artwork. Just writing, the scripting, we say scribbling on it. Can you imagine that? That's incredible. One more thing, when you started with the heart, and I love that, because many do not know much about what's happening in the Arab country. We are in the presence of great Arab diplomats representing their countries. Morocco, Qatar, Oman, Kuwait, Lebanon. If you ask here from the audience, how many do you know, how much do you know about the art movement? Many will not know much. It's our duty. It's our artists who will tell the story. Proximity is about that. Simple. You told me I prefer maybe not to be here. You're right, because your artwork is you. It tells the whole story. It opens the door. It changes the concept. So in the end, it's the artists, it's our ability to tell the story, and it's our have courage to move out, tell your story, and that's it. Thank you.
Inspiring words. Thank you, Your Excellency. Anybody else? Any other questions, please, or comments you'd like to add to the conversation? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think we'll wrap it up there. Have you got any final words you'd like to add, please?
I just wanted to clarify, I'm really happy to be here. No, I think it's, you're right, and I think even walking through the exhibition, I see my friends' work that they would not have displayed before. And they can display now. And I think, as you also said, it's not because of just the artist. The artist is part of an ecosystem. It's because you've allowed for a space. You've allowed for a thought process. Yeah, exactly. So I think it all has to keep coming together. And whether the artist likes it or not, the work does come through. So thank you so much. It's such an honor.
Mayo, any final words from you?
Just please go see the exhibition and spend time in it. It takes time. It's a big exhibition, and as I said, we live in a world of immediacy, where in a flick of a finger we move through information, through images, through. So there are some moments where it is worth taking the time to stop and take the time to go through things. Not everything, but some of these things in the exhibition as much as possible.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.